Archie Rand. Okay, we'll see you inside. And we're going to visit a group exhibition titled Love Letter, created by Loie Hollowell and Harminder Judge. We'll make our sweep. Well, we'll start here. This is Agnes Pelton. Translation. 1931, this is 20 by 24. Well, I came in last week, started doing my report, and I ran out of all my batteries. So I'm back. I believe this is one of the earliest Peltons in the show. And I think they talk about this as something she was working on when she was still in her windmill on Long Island. Okay, so I've got a little orchid there on the side. Well, the title of the show is Love Letters, curated by Loie Hollowell and Harminder Judge. Now, these are a couple of youngish contemporary artists, and they curated in to other artists that they felt were kind of essential to their own ideas about painting. So we saw the Agnes Pelton. This is Ghulam Rasool Santosh. Well, I did a little research on these artists and the ideas behind the show. And Hardin is, he lives in Great Britain, but I believe he's from the Punjab, and I believe he might be Sikh. This is Loie Hollowell, fully dilated. Well, Loie and Harminder are, I guess, practitioners of what I would call a kind of a new spiritualism, nouveau spiritualism, something like that. This is oil paint, acrylic, medium, aqua resin, and epoxy resin on linen. I think I read something where Loie said she actually had a friend who was pregnant, and that she took a body cast of her tummy and put that in the painting. It's 26 by 28. More Pelton. This is a scent. in parentheses, aka Liberation, 1948. It's 32 by 21. Well, so Agnes Pelton was actually from a fairly elevated social class here in New York. And at some point, I think that her father died from an overdose of laudanum or morphine or something in Munich, and kind of threw the family into financial hardship. And well, I think Agnes was always kind of maybe sensitive to the spiritual side of things, but she was also recognized as a talent and kind of a part of that New York social milieu that included people like Mabel Dodge. This is Harminder Judge, untitled, Leg Under Earth 2022. This is plaster polymer pigment scrim oil, and it's 79 by, I guess each panel is 79 by 39, so that's probably about 6.5 by 6 feet, something like that. I was reading a little bit about Harminder's technique, and evidently these images are kind of built from the back forward. He pours a lot of, I mean, literally pounds and pounds of pigment and plaster onto these surfaces, and then polishes them with sandpaper and oil. And he considers himself, I guess, part of the Tantra or Tantric art tradition, which is an ancient form of yoga, meditation, something like that. Some more Loie. Linked Lingam in red, yellow, and bronze, 2020 to 2022. Oil paint acrylic medium and high density foam on linen over panel. Well, they talk a lot about how Loie, I guess, is trying to express ideas about fecundity, the female power, pregnancy, things like that. And they've got a great interview with both Loie and Harminder that was done for the Brooklyn Rail. I'll probably try to post a link below. That's 28 by 21. I thought this was a really impressive piece. It's Ghulam Rasool Santosh, untitled Shikit series. This is 1971, oil and acrylic on canvas 50 by 40. Well, in the Brooklyn Rail interview, they actually compare this painting to a Marsden Hartley painting from the what's this German officer series that he did about 1914, 1916. I believe he's in Berlin and fell in love with a young Prussian officer. How that relates to this one is just the kind of symmetry of the design. So they were saying that a lot of this is dealing with kind of male and female parts. There was some kind of a theory that Santosh was, I guess, an ancient tantric theory of feminine and masculine and how they were kind of combined. And we got some what could be read as body parts, but they could also be mountains or various other things. Also, they talk about his edges. A lot of the paintings have this kind of painted on frame that's kind of dark black, and they talk about that as the ultimate ineffable external world. But I was thinking, it actually made me think of the Black Ed Reinhardt paintings. And ironically, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, they had a show here in this very space that was dealing with Ed Reinhardt, but it was his color paintings. I got another Loie piece here. Split orbs in mauve, magenta, green, teal, and yellow. Okay, we got a little tour going on here at the same time. Loie's been getting a lot of attention lately, and I started seeing references to her work maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but since then we've seen her work in a show that was around the corner called Beyond 9th Street, Part 2, which is like the geometrical female abstract painters. And I saw her show at Speroni Westwater maybe a year ago. She was curated into. This is more Agnes. Well, this is called Caves of the Mind, 1929. So maybe this is the oldest Pelton in there. So this is 24 by 26. Well, we can see that she's also using a lot of the symmetry, but then she's got this kind of Art Nouveau, swooping lines. She was part of the Transcendental Painting movement that was, I guess, started in Taos, New Mexico, maybe in the late 20s, early 30s. There's more Harminder, Untitled, Sand and Song and Soil, 2022. This is 92 by 90. Well, I was thinking when I was reading about Harminder's technique and how he was influenced by a group of, I guess, modernist Indian painters that came along in the 40s and 50s that were called the Neo-Tantra painters. I was thinking there's a certain relationship there to kind of the Washington Color School, people like Kenneth Nolan, Morris Louis, those people. And also there's a certain kind of relationship to process art. People like Richard Serra were pouring lead on things, and other artists were dripping pigment on things. This is Santosh Untitled, 1978. Okay, these are very articulate, and well, I like the basic kind of simple design, but Santosh really is nice with his gradient color things. Oh, that's nice. It's 24 by 18. I think a great example of smallish painting that's got a lot of presence.
Yeah, Pelton is walking to school every day, and his father passed when he was 6 years old. And
This is more Pelton. This is titled Rose and Palm, 1931. Well, I became aware of the Transcendental Painting Group probably in the mid-'80s. Being kind of a hippie and someone from the West, we paid a lot of attention to kind of these outsider, esoteric, spiritual groups. But Agnes wasn't really getting a lot of attention except among a bunch of specialists until this was 2020. She had a one-person show at the Whitney. Unfortunately, that was right at the beginning of the COVID lockdown, so not many people saw it. This is 36 by 24. More Loie, Mother's Milk in purple, red, yellow, and blue, 2022. Okay, I think one of the things that distinguishes Loie's work is that she does a lot of stuff that's kind of three-dimensional, has kind of sculptural elements to it. One of the points of discussion in the interview with the Brooklyn Rail people was that the term New Age kept coming up, and oh, there's a nice quality she gets with her, some of her textural things there. So Hardin was talking about all of the kind of the contemporary stuff as being bastardized forms of the true Tantra. This is Ghulam Rasool Santosh, Untitled, 1977, oil on canvas. Well, I guess that's why you want to divide the actual spiritual practice away from the art practice, because if you start mistaking one for the other, you'll always be dealing with a bastardized form of something, especially when you're dealing with the commercial art market. The other thing I think is interesting about Santosh is that there was a whole kind of a revival in interest in Eastern mysticism starting out in the 60s with the people like the Beatles were looking at that, and everybody was kind of getting interested in meditation and gurus.
so that's saying very replication of language, but also the ability to, she recognizes.
So this is Santosh Untitled from the Black Period, 1973. I would actually recommend that if you have some time and you're interested, that you Google the Neo-Tantra artists, Neo-Tantric art. There's actually some pretty interesting stuff. Okay, so I was talking about him using images that kind of meld the female and the male. I got the lingam, various other kinds of things that kind of allude to male and female genitalia. I was kind of looking at this and it made me think of Max Ernst. So this is Harminder, Untitled Eye and Rock, 2022, plaster, polymer, pigment, scrim oil. So it's not all of Harminder are these huge pieces. This is kind of a fragment of something. Although we like the way that this is kind of organically structured, and the little, okay, the red dot, that kind of makes it allude to landscape. Pressure in Blue and Red, 2022. When they were talking about the idea of the New Age or New Agers versus, I don't know what you'd call it, the authentic spiritual people. Loie mentioned the fact that she was from Northern California, and I think that her father taught at one of the universities up there. But she never thought of herself as New Agey. There's some very subtle kinds of things that she's doing here. One of them is kind of like the scumbled, splattered paint there on the side. And she's very good with her kind of whirling, melding of pigments there. And those little dots are nice. So again, think about this in relationship to pregnancy, fecundity, those kinds of things. I thought this was a great painting. Untitled, 1984. Okay, I'm not sure when Rasool passed away. 49 by 36. Again, we've got our dark edge. I know they're talking about these as these kind of essential forms. And how it was interesting that the Transcendental painters and the Neo-Tantra painters were kind of playing with similar kinds of basic geometric forms, and in a certain way you could also say that this goes back to the Russian constructivists, people like Melovich, and beyond that it goes back to Plato and his ideas about the realm of forms, or the realm of pure forms, and how geometry is one of the only places where you can actually deal with truth. Okay, this is nice, the way we've got a kind of a pairing of these two paintings that are both based on this cosmic egg. This is Pelton. It's 1960-61, so this is shortly before she passed away. They were saying this is interesting because you can still see some of her notations in here that she's written in there, and she decided to leave them. You know, being a painter, I'm always fascinated with how the paintings end up where they are. I think the other, well, criticisms that people have made is that some of Agnes's decorative elements have a kind of Walt Disney quality, a kind of maybe over-the-top decorative quality, and I don't know. I don't think she was aware of it, and if it is kitsch, real kitsch is actually pretty interesting stuff. It's like when you know you're making kitsch, that's when you're in trouble. Blue O with Red Halo 2022. Oil paint acrylic medium and high density foam on linen over panel. Okay, this is one of the largest Loie paintings I've seen.
You talking to your viewers?
Yes, I'm talking to my viewers. Walter
Peace out.
Robinson. Yes, thank you.
They remind me of Peter Halley. Peter Halley with curves.
You think so?
Yeah, look at how she does the surface with all the texture.
The little nubby texture things. I was wondering about that. Nice to see you, Walter.
Likewise.
Also, I love the gradation from the outer edge, and I guess that's what she's calling the red halo. And then her swirling gradations, kind of a turquoise blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue to an almost black center. Beautiful painting. This one is 72 by 54, so that's 6 by 4.5 feet. Some more Harminder, untitled, Iron Rock 2, 2022. I was just thinking, I had a flash. I guess it was probably about 10 or 12 years ago. You can go back and check in the files and see a report of Bryce Marden, and he did a bunch of paintings on hunks of marble. I guess Bryce has got a little place somewhere on one of the islands in Greece, and he had gone out to one of the quarries and found some interesting pieces of marble that he painted on, but they had the same kind of physical presence as this. I think we'll look at this piece by Harminder, again untitled, Hair and Hands, 2022. Well, I guess he's talking about pouring stuff onto a surface and sort of going from the front to the back and being totally surprised when he peeled off the front and saw what was going on, and then he went through a process of sanding and polishing. I was thinking it looked like he was pouring resin on this and then kind of mushing things around from the top. Maybe not. Got some great kind of atmospheric things happening. Kind of like got a Clifford still that was cast in glass somehow. And we're going to end up looking at this piece. It's Agnes Pelton, The Chalice, 1932, oil on canvas, 24 by 18. Again, a small painting that's got an incredible presence. Yeah, I was interested in a lot of this, and I was thinking that I could have gone in and talked about the relationship to Hilma af Klint and some other spiritualist painters, but then you start to get into Madame Blavatsky and Theosophy and Gurdjieff and all those people, and God, that would be a whole season of programs right there. I think one of the interesting things, it's like this chalice is almost like the lily that's in the corner of that painting over there. James Kalm reporting on Love Letter, a group show curated by Loie Hollowell and Harminder Judge with Agnes Pelton and Ghulam Rasool Santosh here at Pace. You can like this, share, link it up to all your social media sites, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticism, and reviews and suggestions below. Did I say you could subscribe? Just ask you to say, thank you, Kate.